Hare Krishna. So, welcome to the second section of Text 2. We discuss Atyahar, overindulgence in anything, either in religion, philosophy, or welfare work, should be controlled. So, we should think more about prayas. So, more about Krishna consciousness. Now, second topic is prayas. So, in this, the next, before dealing with the next topic, that is prayas or over endeavor, we should know what is the purpose of human form of life. If we know the purpose of human form of life, then only we can make some sense. Right? When we say you should not endeavor for something, but somebody will question, why not? So first show him what is your goal. First show him what is the goal, like a child. If you want him to study, tell him the benefits of studying or why we are studying. At the end of this college, what are you going to get? He's telling, I want to enjoy, I want this game, I want this game, I want to play, I want my friends. But my dear stupid boy, we will tell him, if you study nicely, you have lots of money and then you can get everything. Of course, then the age of the games is gone, but the point is, if you want wealth, then he will study and not endeavor too much for the games. He knows that will spoil my life. If my business is studying. For somebody whose career is games, for them games is the subject to think about. Because games is going to make him wealthy, name, fame, whatever he gets. So depending upon what is your object you want to achieve. Similarly, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Very few think about it. That's why it says common sense is not so common. That is the purpose of human life. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. When we say high thinking, is Brahma Jigyasa, inquire about the absolute truth. Right? Brahma Jigyasa. So, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. And God has naturally arranged everything. Simple, peaceful living with some land and milk cow. Recently, we went to one of the villages. And one of our devotee families, they are staying with 1 acre of small land. In the middle, they have a small cottage, a few couple of cows they have. And with that milk and whatever comes out, seasonal produce of the land, they spend their life, month after month after month for the whole year. This is in Odisha. So God's natural arrangement, simple life. And in Bombay, we see all the villagers are flooding. Sitting in Bombay, I am recording here, and all the villages are flooding towards Bombay. The hellish life of this city, thinking they will make money. And working for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours, 17, 18 hours, sometimes getting only 10,000 rupees or some minimum salary. So much struggle they have. Unnecessary endeavor. When they could be happy with some cow and peaceful living, they think, oh, let us know modern technology, the city life, it's too attractive, too charming, too beautiful. They lost the human life. In the olden days, they would sit in the village, some part of the day work in the land, milk the cows. Evening, everybody would come together in the temple and do Krishna Katha. And they start playing with the material elements, thinking, let us try to improvise the material elements. Let us try to get the machines to get things done when we want, not to depend upon the seasonal produce. Previously, vegetables only in certain season, now throughout the season. Because with the help of technology, they are preserving. But according to the natural arrangement, some vegetable is supposed to be eaten only in certain season, not in all the seasons. It is harmful. But by all this, health is getting spoiled, environment is getting polluted by the machines, and then no time for high thinking, Brahma Jigyasa. Then we have the solution to all economic problems, this natural arrangement. Everything will be taken care, and no need to travel from one place to another place for livelihood as they are traveling. What is the purpose of higher intelligence? Cultivate Krishna consciousness. So, cultivating Krishna consciousness is the purpose of higher intelligence. Human being has been given this intelligence. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Tattva means or tad vijnanartham. Divyam jnanam. Transcendental knowledge should be achieved, not jigyasa about how to manipulate the material elements, but divya, transcendental knowledge. Purpose of higher intelligence. We should be understanding God, one's relationship with Him, and the ultimate goal, love of Godhead. Understanding God. What is about understanding God? We should know what is our relationship with Him. How to function in that relationship. In the Vedic text, we divide Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojan. 3 words are there. The all Vedic literatures you can study in these 3 categories. Certain sections talk about Sambandha. What is our relationship with God? Abhidaya, how to revive, how to function in that relationship of service. Abhidaya, what is the process? And Prayojana, achieving the ultimate love of God. So this science we have to understand, and nobody is interested in that. They all want to play with material elements. But material element is Jada, Jada Vidya. Jada Vidya means knowledge about dull matter cannot satisfy. Just like when a person dies, leaves body, the body is still there. The same wife who was attracted to the beauty of the man, or if the female dies, the man who was attracted to the beauty of woman, who used to just sit next to each other, sleep next to each other, does not even want to stand one moment next to each other. That whole body becomes abominable. You want to reject it. You don't want to stay any more time. Because it is jada, it is matter. What makes beautiful? Spirit soul. Similarly, unless and until we have spiritual knowledge, just the knowledge of the matter cannot make us happy. It is like many, many zeros. Unless we add 1, it is not possible. So we have to understand these things. 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So many zeros, but if you add 1, all the zeros get value. Similarly, when you introduce spiritual knowledge, then all the material assets have value. Otherwise, material assets are useless. So 1 is very important. Zeros are not important. So purpose of higher intelligence, that one has to study Shastras, develop spiritual intelligence. Unless and until one develops spiritual intelligence by memorizing, contemplating, thinking, meditating on the scriptural instructions, talking about it, discussing about it, telling others about it, getting inspired from it, sorry, it is not going to help us. Like that. So that is prayas. What is prayas? Not understanding the high thinking part. And plain, it is not plan, it's plain living. Sorry for that. Not thinking about the plain living and high thinking, one thinks about high living and unnecessarily endeavor in the material resources. Over endeavor. Therefore, it says, misuse of higher human intelligence. As we already said, intelligence and senses are products of the mode of passion. They naturally tend to, the intelligence and senses naturally tend to act in the mode of passion, and a person in passionate working try to create material resources. So higher human intelligence misuse leads to over endeavor in material life. And then there is a rejection of simple living and high thinking principle. Consider this idea to be a primitive way of life. So now this is interesting. They reject. You tell them go to village life, oh, primitive way of life. You tell them what is the need of all the modern resources, be happy, chanting Krishna's name. Even nowadays we told one lady, please keep your son's name as Partha or Arjuna oh, they feel it's too old fashioned. So the point is, they think it is primitive way of life. People sit together with kartal and mridanga doing kirtan. People think you are too old fashioned. You are too much like parasites. One of our devotees, when he first time followed the fasting on Ekadashi, they thought it is primitive. And simple living. You tell them reduce your modern needs, simplify yourself. Oh, you are too primitive. Again, they have no understanding. Just like a body is getting the beauty from spirit, life will get beautiful only from spiritual knowledge. And they unwanted, unnecessary things. Prabhupada writes beautifully in one of the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. He says unnecessary necessities, like cosmetics. The whole world is creating cosmetics, cosmetic powders and perfumes and so many things. Unnecessary necessities. So, what is the need? Unwanted and unnecessary things. And examples, factories, slaughterhouses. What is the need of slaughterhouse? When a man can be happy with some grain and milk, why he need to kill animals? And they have very systematic, organized slaughterhouses. How to make hygienic, health conscious slaughterhouse. In fact, they take all the students and teach them. See how in the city we are maintaining perfectly hygienic slaughterhouses. All the intelligence is used by them. And brothels and liquor shops. So many variety of liquors. For what? To intoxicate an already intoxicated man. A person is already bewildered, to bewilder him more. That is called as prayas. So therefore, keeping these points in mind, we have to understand that over endeavor has to be reduced. So we are rejecting simple living, producing unwanted, unnecessary things, and then what is the problem? Less time for inquiry. You are getting more and more intoxicated, you are getting more and more absorbed in the factories, working, you are rejecting the simple living which takes less time, so less time for inquiry. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Jigyasa means inquiry, tattva means supreme knowledge, absolute knowledge. Jiva, living entity, loses time for that. And now you ask people, come for spiritual discourses, oh, no time. Like that. So over endeavor means endeavor for something which is not required. Just like a person who wants to become a sportsman, he should put all his endeavor in practicing the sports he wants to perfect. If he's spending whole day reading science books and try to find out how to make an aeroplane, what is the point? He has to become a sportsman. What he has to do with the construction of an aeroplane or the civil engineering subject, what is the point? Prayas, over endeavor. We already discussed, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. So, this is called as prayas. So now what is the further categories? Solution. Inquire into the absolute truth. Yeah. What is the solution? Inquire into the absolute truth. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Labho jivete yavata. Reduce the endeavor for artificial needs. Please reduce the endeavor. Be very careful. Material world is always attracting us to put endeavor in this direction, to put endeavor in this direction, to put endeavor in this direction. Previously there was no mobile, so you would have some free time. Now even when people are attending nature's call, they are replying SMSs on the mobile or talking on the mobile. There is no time. Previously when people would be roaming around in the streets, they would be singing bhajans of the Lord. Now when going out, always on mobile. If you look in a busy city, everywhere you see people are on mobile. They have no time to talk to the person sitting next to them, but talking on mobile to somebody sitting in the next country. Far, far, many, many miles away. Endeavoring for artificial needs. Inquire. So absolute truth inquiry is gone. What is the lesson? So this is, Prabhupada says, if our endeavor is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor. If our endeavor is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor. So, simply increase our endeavor. This is interesting. Sometimes we see renounced order. We are supposed to decrease our needs. Forget about renounced order, any order. Grahastha ashram, brahmachari ashram, sannyas ashram, vanaprastha ashram. Everybody is supposed to focus on how to develop one's knowledge of absolute truth, how to chant Hare Krishna more and more, how to read these books. Sometimes we talk about using modern technology like now we are using for the online course. And the very people involved in producing online course, sometimes dealing with this technology takes away all the time that their personal life gets hampered. And one starts thinking how to present nicely, like these slides, how to add more and more and more designs. But as devotees, interacting devotees, our job is to focus on the subject. We can't afford to waste time in things which are not required. I'm not saying putting designs in the slide is wrong, but point which I am making is that technology takes too much of our time. We have seen people in spiritual societies fighting with each other for resources, for money, for places to stay, for temples. Why fighting? This is mine, this is yours, this is mine, I cannot live without this. You have so much resources, why can't I enjoy? And renunciants are fighting and the householders are fighting. Sometimes it happens. Why? Because our endeavor to inquire absolute truth is lacking. Very important point. Please note, if we are not maddened, if we are not eager to hear, to discuss, to understand about absolute truth, our priority every time this signal should come out in our consciousness. Is this helping you to connect to Krishna? Any decision you have to make, you should think in these lines. Is this helping us to connect to Krishna? And if we can do that, then automatically all the over endeavor will be washed away from our life. So considering this, that we always tend to overdo things. One has to increase his appetite, increase his hunger, increase his desire to connect to absolute truth. So then, Srila Prabhupada talks about another activity, that is prajalpa, unnecessary talking. That is the third in the series, unnecessary talking. He says, croaking toads. What is croaking toads all about? We already discussed under Vachovegam. A toad is always making sound. The male attracting female, attracting each other. They do not know. The snake is nearby. Just hearing the sound devours the snake. Unnecessary talking wastes the human energy and ultimately we face Lord in the form of time or in the form of death. Finish. Just like cat devours a rat, living entity is devoured by the power of time, speaking nonsensical subject matters. But one who has nourished his life with katha, with philosophy, with pastimes of Supreme Lord Krishna, with chanting Hare Krishna, same death acts like cat's mouth for the kitten, full of love and affection. Examples: heaps of newspapers, magazines, novels, crossword puzzles. Newspapers, place of garbage, full of politics, diplomacy, fighting, quarreling, sex life. That is the only subject in newspaper. Cheating. Srila Prabhupada puts it simply. This world is a place of cheaters and cheated. That is the essence of all newspapers. Why we have to read it? Cheaters and cheated. Magazines. Heaps of information about different mundane personalities. How does he live? How does he eat? How does he talk? Our Krishna book is talking about that. How does Krishna live? What does he eat? How does he talk? What are the activities? How does Krishna's devotees act? That is what nourishes a spirit soul and connects one to Krishna. Novels. Novels is again life stories of different things. There is a romance, there is violence, there is adventure, there is drama. This is all available in Krishna's pastime. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of that. That's why it is said, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shukamukhadamrita dravya samyutam pibatam bhagavatam rasamalayam muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. A thoughtful man. A thoughtful man, we should understand this point very nicely. A person who is thoughtful, novels, he doesn't read, he knows where to take interest. Pibatam Bhagavatam, he drinks the nectar of Bhagavatam. Nigama Kalpataror, which is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate. Tadrasamrit triptasya na astirati kvachit. So, tadrasamrit, somebody who drinks the rasa of Bhagavatam, tadrasamrit triptasya na astirati kvachit. He doesn't get any other taste because it is the juice, it is the sara, the essence of all the Vedic literatures. Newspaper, magazines, novels, crossword puzzles, so many nice things are there in Bhagavatam. Why to go for this? Why to go for this nonsense? All this, which takes away all the intellect, the mind, and it becomes so difficult to chant Hare Krishna. Then we have other examples also. Play cards, fishing. This is all different parts of the world. Different activities are famous. Watching television, socio-political debates. No reason, just draining out energy. Just talking about the words of cheaters and cheated. No, it doesn't give you any connection to Krishna. Please note, our life is like a camera which takes so many impressions. We see, we hear, we talk, we discuss on the mind. So when we sit for chanting Hare Krishna or meditation on Krishna, it is very difficult. All these impressions are there. So they are not conducive for spiritual life if one wants to experience the beauty of spiritual life. And then we say, oh, our life is full of distress. What is the solution? Not waste valuable time and energy, but talk about Krishna conscious subjects. Sages are telling in the first canto, Vayam tuna vitripyama swadu swadu pade pade uttama shloka vikrame. Says, please go on reciting the glories of Supreme Lord. Again and again we hear swadu swadu, more and more taste we get. It is not boring, or it doesn't become tasteless after a certain time like a mundane topic. If you read newspaper again and again, you cannot read the same article again and again. But if it is about Krishna, same Bhagavatam can be read hundreds and thousands of times. And every time you relish it deeper. So talk about Krishna conscious subjects. Tad rasamrit triptasya na asti sadrati kvachit. And then we have Niyama Agraha. What does Niyama Agraha says? So, Atyahar prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamcha. Janasangascha laulyamcha. Shadvid bhaktir vinashyati. So, prajalpo niyamagraha. So, this is niyamagraha, the fourth one. So when you say niyama means rules and regulations. Niyama means rules and regulations. And agraha, what does agraha means? Agraha actually has two meanings. Let us see. There are two things, niyam agraha and niyam agraha. In Sanskrit, when you join both the words, it becomes niyam agraha. This is agraha and this is agraha. So when you say agraha means failure to accept niyama. And when you say niyamagraha, it means eagerness to accept niyama. Too much eager. But what is the purpose? For immediate or economic benefit. This is another impediment. So many examples can be given. It says niyama agraha, failure to accept rules and regulations meant for spiritual development. Just like you see nectar of instruction. You see nectar of instruction, so many things are given. Vacho vegam, manasa, krodha vegam, jivva vegam. First verse. Then this verse we are reading atyahar, prayasascha, over endeavoring, over collecting. These are rules. Following 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One time, one disciple of Prabhupada came to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, this manager in ISKCON is not chanting his rounds properly. He's too busy in service. Srila Prabhupada said, no excuse. Service or no service, chanting 16 rounds has to go on. Another devotee came to Srila Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, if I am too busy in service, no time, is it okay to sacrifice on chanting? Srila Prabhupada said, sacrifice or eating, but not chanting. He says, still no time. Okay, cut down your sleep, but chanting cannot be sacrificed. So failure to accept rules and regulations, too negligent. Most prominent rules and regulations, thinking it is okay if one does not accept. That is called as niyama agraha. One is negligent. People are coming from unhygienic background sometimes. They are not used to taking bath 6 times like that. If you have 6 times Pujari Seva, you will take bath 6 times. Oh, what is this? Or things like that, taking bath every time. After attending nature's call, you take bath. So if one is not from a highly hygienic background, he is not conditioned. So tendency may creep in. Why this needs to be done? So much cleanliness. But again, deity worship requires punctuality and cleanliness. High degree of cleanliness and high degree of punctuality marks hallmark of deity worship. But failure to accept because our conditioning is not like that, neglectful, so what? Rules and regulations too, not to offend Vaishnavas. Do not judge them on external platform. Do not try to put the Vaishnavas into our category of logic. Of course, we will discuss these topics in text 5 detail, text 5 and 6. But failure to accept. So what? If something doesn't fit into my logic, I just blast him left and right. Throw him out of the society. Again, failure to accept the rules. Like that. Then eagerness to accept. Second one is eagerness for immediate or economic benefit. Like we discussed Atyahar. Atyahar in terms of religion. You accept religion for a mundane benefit, which is a side benefit. Main thing, the Krishna consciousness you forget. Similarly here you accept the rules. Oh, this is the rule. How it can be broken? For immediate benefit. Like that. Like it is said, one should be very careful applying rules to Brahmanas. So somebody gets the power and he starts putting rules to everyone, punishing everyone. But when Ashwathama was supposed to be punished, although he is a fallen son of a Brahmana, Draupadi and all the other people, they thought many times, a Brahmana should not be punished. So sometimes we see people who are the punishing rod, who are the in charge, who have the power to punish others. So there is one nice quote. It says, power does not mean that you can exploit others the way you want. But power means other may not be allowed to behave the way they want with you. But power doesn't mean that exploit others the way you want. You have to know, although I have the punishing rod, the chastisement rod, but Brahmanas are beyond punishment. One has to be very careful dealing with Brahmanas. Look into the Shastras, how to deal. So do not be so eager to accept the rules for immediate or economic benefit because it benefits my position, my comfort. Many examples can be quoted, but this is the essence. So, therefore, one has to understand that one cannot cross his limits. One has to be very careful how to protect the creeper of Krishna consciousness, those things which connect me to Krishna. Spiritual life is not stereotyped. Spiritual life is highly dynamic. Sometimes strictness in rituals, sometimes no strictness in rituals. It works more on respecting devotional sentiments. In fact, Krishna, what he sees is the devotion. He doesn't see the ritual, he sees the devotion. So if you say Niyam Agra, too much eager for rituals, he is not. He is interested about the devotion of the heart. Somebody cannot offer full rituals, but he has devotion. So this is therefore one has to be careful. Spiritual life is highly dynamic, not stereotyped. The same principles may be important in a certain situation, and in other situation it is not important. So one has to know how to adjust, how not to adjust, where to respect other sentiments, where not to respect other sentiments. Just now we quoted one example of Srila Prabhupada's disciple who was not chanting Hare Krishna, so Prabhupada said chanting Hare Krishna must be done. But another case when it was told to Prabhupada, one of his another disciples is not chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said, so what? When this disciple came and told, my temple president is not chanting. Srila Prabhupada said, so what? Arjuna was also not chanting. On battlefield you cannot chant, so he is in management, he has no time. Maybe just to respect his sentiments. He didn't want to discourage the person who is doing so much service. Of course, he wants all his disciples to come to higher platform, but for that moment, he said, it's okay, you chant your rounds. So therefore, spiritual life is highly dynamic. And one need very expert guidance when to respect which rule and when to relax which rule. Expert guidance and training is required. And therefore, this is another unfavorable item which has to be rejected while cultivating Krishna consciousness. Now, two more have to be discussed, Janasanga and Laulyamcha. Let us see. Janasangas. Avoid associating with those not interested in Krishna consciousness. We would like to discuss that in the next section. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai.